Hello, and welcome to the Revelation Station where we talk and take action on healing from narcissistic abuse. I was quickly clicking my neck there before it actually went live. So, today we're talking about how long does it actually take to heal from narcissistic abuse? I wonder if you've ever asked yourself this question. You might have wondered, how long am I going to be in this pain? When is this going to be over? How long does it take? When am I going to be in a healthy relationship? We are going to be answering these questions today in this video. So, we're going to be covering what it actually means about you if you're asking this question, and whether time is a healer for narcissistic abuse. Disclaimer alert, no, spoiler alert, it is not. If there was a quick fix for narcissistic abuse recovery, I'm going to reveal what that is, and then I'm actually going to answer the question, how long does it take, based on my opinion, my experience of healing personally and working with others on their own healing journey, and also what other coaches and therapists in the community say. And we're going to look at this question, how long does it take to heal? And I'm going to suggest a better quality question that is going to get you better results in your healing journey. And then we're also going to cover some concepts like what about setbacks and what is a healing journey and this kind of thing as well. So stay tuned. I want to thank you so much for joining me. This channel is for anyone that has experienced narcissistic abuse, whatever age or stage of their journey that they are. So you might be very new to this, or you might be have been doing this healing work or learning about narcissistic abuse for quite some time now. And I'm pretty sure that there will be something in here for you, regardless of where you fall on that. So let's just start. Also, if I'm looking down, that's because I've got my trusty notes here and I am live. So let's start with what asking this question, how long will it take me to heal narcissistic abuse? What does that mean about you if you're asking this question? Now, I think this is a really good sign if you are asking this question, and I'll explain why. So, either you've recently made a commitment to heal from narcissistic abuse, or you're kind of thinking about it and you're just tiptoeing on the edge of making this commitment. And I believe that's often when this question can come up. It can also come up, obviously, if we've been on this journey for quite some time and we're not seeing progress. But I think this question often comes up when we're really looking at about, like, just about to go all in and really take healing from this seriously. And we're kind of curious, how long is it going to take? So I want to acknowledge that it's a fantastic sign if you're asking that. And also, when you get to this point or when you're asking this, I think it's worth acknowledging that you really have two paths or two choices. It's like you get to a crossroads when it comes to your healing journey, and you can either kind of stay as you are, and with that, staying as you are, feeling stuck, experiencing the same things you've experienced up until now. You know, they say the definition of insanity is doing the same thing and expecting a different result. So it's just kind of staying as you are, having relationships with these kind of people and living this out continuously. Or you can choose option B or road B. Is I almost see it as like you get to this point where there's like a fork in the road, and you can either turn left and work on your healing, or turn right. My husband's messaging me. I'm sure I turned notifications off. Or turn right and pretty much, repeat what you've already been doing. And I think the thing is, it can get to the point where you you get so uncomfortable living the life that you've already been living that it almost feels like life is forcing you to make this choice. And there comes a point in your recovery when life really is um, forcing you or wanting you to embark on this healing. And if you choose the path of healing, this is where miracles can happen. This is where you start to change your life one step at a time. For me, it got to a point where I was like, well, what choice do I really have? I cannot continue having these kind of relationships. Therefore, I need to take this healing journey. Okay, so let's look at this concept of time and is time a healer? And did already say no. Um, and it's interesting because we hear a lot of these concepts in life, like, oh, time is a healer. And the thing is with narcissistic abuse and recovery is that a lot of these concepts they really just don't apply to this specific situation. So you really need to use a lot of, discernment when you hear these terms like bandied around. So for narcissistic abuse recovery, it's not time per se that is going to heal you. For example, let's say when we get into the times to heal, let's say it takes 1 year. If I've got a stopwatch going here. Let's say I set an alarm for 1 year's time, and I thought to myself, okay, it takes 1 year to heal from narcissistic abuse. Set an alarm. In 1 year's time, the alarm's going to go off. I'm going to be healed from narcissistic abuse because 1 year of time has passed. No, it does not work like that. And in particular, it doesn't work like that because of trauma. And the thing about trauma is that time alone does not heal trauma. There is something deeper going on. If you've ever experienced a traumatic event and had like PTSD afterwards, the amount of time after that event makes zero difference, and you can relive that event like it happened yesterday. So with narcissistic abuse, there's trauma there, which is why you see so many people struggling years later because they're traumatized, and either they're trauma bonded to the narcissist, or they've experienced kind of a complex PTSD where they've experienced so many mini, or not even mini, but in comparison to a one-off traumatic event, a series of mini or moderate or even maxi traumas that have them in a traumatized state. So, if there was a quick fix for healing narcissistic abuse, and the reason why I want to really emphasize to beware of this idea of a quick fix from healing narcissistic abuse is because there are so many different things that go into being narcissistically abused in the first place. In that kind of relationship, there's a lot going on. There's blaming, shaming, there's a lack of communication, there's silent treatments, right? There's all these different things, right? And the rejections and the feelings that come along with that. Um, all of those separate things need healing individually. So it would not be right to say there is a quick fix, because it's like lots of different little things that need to be healed in order for the bigger healing picture to be able to take place. Excuse me. But, however, if there was a quick fix, it would be hypnotherapy. And that would be hypnotherapy to break the trauma bond, so a psychic cord cutting, and or hypnotherapy for PTSD or the complex PTSD symptoms where you might just feel helpless or anxious. Yeah, and reliving the experience and, just kind of stuck in this sort of like negative loop of it all. That's where the rewind technique would really help. And those two hypnotherapy techniques are going to significantly pull you out of those particular areas that need to be healed. So that's the rewind technique and psychic cord cutting or energetic cord cutting. And I do both of those with my clients. The rewind technique is completely non-invasive, so you don't need to relive any trauma. And I guess you would call it the hypnotherapy equivalent of EMDR, which I think a lot more people have heard of. So in terms of quick fixes, I would say that's where it's at for that. Um, Moving on, just before I get into the actual answers of how long is this going to take, I just want to preface that with the definition. What is the definition of healed? So, the answer to the question, how long does it take to heal, really depends on what is your definition of healed, because it could be a short-term goal, like I want to be free from the ties to this person, or I want to be out of this particular emotional pain that I am in right now and it's really strong. Or I want to be able to go about my day and um, be able to be more present. Like, what is what does being healed mean to you? Because that in itself is going to change the answer of how long it takes to get there. And I actually believe it's kind of two pronged. So when we're looking at how long does it take, I think it's important to have an awareness of what you're struggling with the most right now. So, what is your short term struggle, and then turning that into your next goal. But then also having an idea, and I really encourage you to think about this. What is your long term picture of being healed? What would that mean to you? Would that mean having really open communication and feeling really comfortable in your relationships? Would it mean being free from these kind of unhealthy attachments that you get with people, and this attraction that you have to people that you know are not right? Would it be being in a healthy relationship? Would it be just, living by yourself and having, select friends? Like, there's many different scenarios and different definitions. And I think it's really important to take the time to consider what healing means to you, and also why. Like, why is it that you want that as well? So, like for me personally, I wanted a healthy relationship, romantic relationship, because I wanted the opportunity to have a family and children. And, you need a partner to do that. Or at least that's the picture that I wanted. Okay, so the thing is, if you don't know where you're going, then how are you going to get there? Do you see what I mean? Like, if you don't know what being healed looks like to you, then it's kind of like going on a road trip and going, okay, let's go on a road trip, but you get in the car and you're like, okay, but where are we actually going? You don't have anything to move towards. So that's why it's super important to think about. However, I just want to mention that, especially if you are affected by the trauma of this kind of a relationship, it can be very, very difficult to even think about where you want to go and what a healthy relationship might be like, and all of these things. And so in that case, it's um absolutely fine if you don't know that. You can just work on the short-term goals. What are you struggling with right now? And define where you're going based on that. And the long-term picture, just allow that to develop something to revisit in the future. Okay. And the other thing about this kind of, when I talk about the definition of healed, it also depends on, the extent of narcissistic abuse you've experienced in, a particular relationship, and also how much you relate to your childhood and the wounds that you've brought from that as being present and a part of the narcissistic abuse you've experienced as an adult. And for some people, they'll be like, yeah, 100%, like, I came from a really dysfunctional family. And for others, they'll be like, no, my upbringing was pretty good. Maybe there were a couple of stressful events or something. So obviously it depends. And this is why I believe, like, this is one of the reasons why this can be a hard question to answer. But here goes. I'm going to tackle it. So, how long does it actually take to heal? Now, I've heard a few coaches, well, a couple of coaches and a psychologist talk about this. Mm, And the couple of coaches that I heard, um, I believe one of them was Kaylee LaRoche, and she said 2 years. And also doing some research for this video, the Very Well Mind article said it can take years. And then another article said there's no set time frame, and obviously there's not, like, it's healing. When you think of narcissistic abuse, this is psychological and emotional abuse, and you can't put a timestamp on this is how long it's not like a broken bone, it's an emotional wound. Like, you can't actually put a timestamp on it, and that's why I say it depends, like, on the extent of the wound. However, so they've said there's no set time frame. It can be weeks, it can be years. I just want to hone in on that weeks thing, because there are some people, when they experience narcissistic abuse and they've been in this kind of a relationship, and the narcissist is, pretending to be someone they're not, as soon as they realize that this person isn't who they thought they was, some people are able to walk away from that relationship and literally call it. They were an idiot. They were an a-hole. I'm better off without them. And just, they'll be hurt that a relationship has ended, but they'll be able to walk on into their future. But for many of us, including perhaps you watching this video, it's not that simple and it takes longer. So for some people, yes, it can be weeks and they're over that relationship. I also want to mention that there is a big difference in being over a relationship and healed from narcissistic abuse, in the sense that you no longer attract people like that in your future. And for some of us, that includes doing a bit more work and digging around, how did I get into this relationship in the first place? So, also, I wanted to mention Dr. Ramani. Why can't Ramani? Ramani. We'll go Dr. Ramani. She mentioned in one of her videos, I wish I knew what one. If you do know what video she said this in, please let me know and I'll link it below. She said it, she suggested it takes 1 year to heal from narcissistic abuse. And she added that you can make significant progress after just 8 sessions. And I found this super interesting. So the thing is, we don't have all the details here. When you hear it takes 2 years, or when you hear this, it takes 1 year. 1 year of what? 2 years of what? Because like we said, you can't just put a date in the calendar. Okay, it's 2022, so in 2023 or 2024, I'm going to be completely fully healed, and then wait until that time and then just skip along happily ever after. No. I believe that when Dr. Romani says 1 year, she's referring to having weekly sessions with a psychologist. She's a psychologist. So that would be, 52 weeks in a year, 2 weeks off. I believe that's all you have in the United States. So 50 sessions with a psychologist to really heal and change your life and, meet those whatever healed is. When it comes to 2 years, I obviously I don't have the information. Does that mean 2 years of sessions, um or is that a combined approach? I'm hopefully going to be talking to Kaylee LaRoche soon in my What is a Healthy Relationship series. So perhaps I should ask her this question when we talk. How long does it take? Did she say 2 years? What does she mean? Um yeah, let's get into my response. I actually think, like Dr. Romani said, if you are having one session a week with your coach, therapist, psychologist, hypnotherapist for 1 year, wow, absolutely. Your life, your healing, your toolbox to not only deal with this, but get through it and have all of those resources. You're just going to be glowing, shining, and when I say that, I don't mean you're going to be like, this is the thing where we get into definition of what healed is, because I think some people think, healed is just like an eternal state of happiness. No, healed, like my kind of definition of healed is like, I am there for myself. I can handle whatever situation comes my way. I'm an emotional support to myself. I don't react the way I used to. And yeah, I think it's important to allow that, definition and meaning of what healed is to you to unfold as you go along in the journey. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. 1 year of weekly sessions. I can 100% see that. I think when we say 2 years, that's maybe when we're not having sessions on a weekly basis, which I think is true for so many people, myself included. And I'm going to do a separate video on what exactly my healing journey looked like, and how many sessions I had, how much it cost, and when was able to make the most progress and what I was doing in order to do that. So stay tuned, subscribe for that video. Um, so yeah, I would say, as a response to this, and I'm sorry I'm a little bit mumble jumble, 1 to 3 years, depending on how frequently you are having your therapy or coaching or whatever it is you're having. And I would highly recommend doing one of those things, because this isn't something I would recommend going alone and trying to figure it out alone. I think it's just kind of like any big thing in life. Like if you wanted to learn to surf, you would probably want to look up and have, some lessons and figure out how to do it. If you wanted to learn a certain kind of dance, like whatever it is you want, if you want that result, then the quickest way to get there is to learn from people that know how to get there. And there can just be so many things that you just don't know, because you don't know, because you don't know how to get there, because yeah, how would you know? So when I say 1 to 3 years, again, it depends on your situation. I think, like, let's give an example. Let's say you find that you keep attracting narcissistic people, or you've stayed in a relationship or affected by a relationship with a narcissist for a long time. And let's say you're aware of some stressful events that you experienced in your childhood as well, which you might think may or may not be related to what's happening now. Um, then I would say this 1 year goal of having this weekly sessions, absolutely. If you have experience, like let's say both of your parents were really, really um narcissistic, then you might need a little more. And I'm really trying my best to answer this, but I think what's important to note is like I said earlier, with like the healing pie, like there's lots of different things. And just because this journey is going to take, like, let's say 1 year of consistently working with someone, that doesn't mean that you are going to be in pain or experiencing the same challenge for 1 year. It's just that there's so many different aspects of, like, there's the self-worth, there's the traumatized, there's the self-care, there's feeling your feet, like there's so many different aspects, and that's why. But that, you can make progress in one of those areas in one session, in 2 or 3 sessions, or 1, 2 or 3 weeks, and that all kind of adds up to the, I don't even want to say being healed, I want to say being healed enough to have a healthy relationship, being healed enough to put yourself first and not feel guilty for it, being healed enough to start living the life that you actually want, and um, be able to have healthy relationships with others. So that's my response. I think when I say 3 years, it also, like it really depends on your definition of healed. But one of my definitions of healed is that you are living the life of your desires, and you are living a life where you are completely authentic to yourself, and you are expressing yourself in all areas of your life in the way that you want. So this this is more than just getting over that person or developing healthy relationships. This is like, am I being true to myself in my career? When you look at life coaching, one of the, like, key concepts of life coaching is this thing called the wheel of life. And depending on what wheel you look at, um they give each area of our life is kind of like a spoke of the wheel. So you've got like your health, your wealth, your career, your family, friendships, relationships, spirituality, all these different things. And you can literally rank each area. So maybe on a scale of 1 to 10, how satisfied are you in this area? And I personally believe for many people that narcissistic abuse can affect all of these areas in one way or another. So when I'm talking about 3 years, that's where I'm like, for me, I want to completely excel and experience abundance in all these areas. And so I'm prepared that that is going to take time. And I think there's a real overlap between personal development and healing from narcissistic abuse, because it doesn't matter, like, if you, whether or not you've experienced narcissistic abuse or not, somebody that hasn't experienced it, let's say they want to start a business, or they want to embark on some career development, or they're striving to achieve something new, things are going to come up that are going to challenge them on that journey, and they would benefit from working with a coach in order to help them break through. If you've experienced narcissistic abuse, then you're going to have that a bit more in some areas of your life. It's just a bit more challenging in certain areas. And yeah, that's why I say 3 years. However, let's move on. So that's my response. I just want to briefly talk about, well, I don't briefly talk about anything, do I? But I want to talk about the, let's go into the concepts of healing. So, this idea of experiencing setbacks, because I've seen, like, even today, someone said to me, I've gone back to the narcissist. I was 8 months no contact, and I've gone back to him, and therefore I've not learned anything. Nobody should ever listen to me. I was helping others to stay no contact, and now, I know nothing, and I've achieved nothing in my healing, and like all of this doom and gloom. And my response to that is, it's just a setback. We all experience setbacks. Healing from narcissistic abuse is a big goal, and there will be setbacks on the journey. And actually, the amount of times I went back to a narcissist, like, I can't even count. I can't even count on my two hands how many times. And yet, I'm in a position now where that is not an issue for me anymore. I have different challenges. And so I've written here this concept of new level, new devil, whereby the things that we struggle with in the past are not, if we're consistently working on this, they're not going to be things that we're struggling with now, because we've elevated to a higher level. And I just want to give the example of maths, because when when I first started school and I was learning maths, I um every time I encountered a struggle, I had that feeling of confusion and like, oh, I don't get this. This is too hard. And I would feel really frustrated, and I would feel like, "Oh, I'm stupid and I don't get it." And let's say that was in level one of math. Well, 10 years later, when I'm still at school and I'm still learning math, I'm now learning something a lot harder. And the level one math is so easy breezy to me that I have clearly come a long way. However, when I'm stuck on a math problem 10 years later, I still feel the same feelings. I still feel frustrated. I still feel like I'm not good enough, and that, I'm stupid and I'm not getting it and I'm confused. I still feel all of those. And I think that we can often take those same feelings and feel like this is the same struggle, but no, it's not. You're on level 10 or level 27 of the struggle now, and you're thinking you're at level one, but no, you're not. And all of the past struggles are not in vain. Does this mean that you're always going to be struggling and always experiencing challenges healing from narcissistic abuse? No, absolutely not. And I do want to make that clear, because I think I'm painting this picture that, there's always levels and you're always going to be struggling. No, it depends on your goal in healing. Um I know for me, in 2018, I went the entire year without having any struggles whatsoever, really. It was just an easy breezy year. However, after that year, I experiences challenges and struggles. And it really depends on what's going on in your life, and also what goals are you setting for yourself. And um if you're always struggling, then no, it doesn't mean that you're not getting anywhere. Like I said, new level, new devil. Also, this thing with a setback, it's like there's just something else for you to learn there. There's another thing to learn, Um, let's take this example. I went back to the narcissist. I know in this situation, it was a time of extreme stress and extreme levels of grief and loss for this person. And so there's new information to gain from that setback of, okay, when I'm experiencing extreme lows, I there's a vulnerability, a weakness in me where I'm going to be drawn back to this unhealthy relationship. There's so much to be learned from that. And that, yeah, it's just like I said, new level, new devil. I also wanted to mention Teal Swan because she spoke about this. I'm going into like healing concepts now. She spoke about this kind of idea of healing and how when you have the same feelings, you can feel like, I'm just back at that same level. And yeah, she almost did like this circle, and it was like when you get to the outskirts of the circle, say that's level 10, but you're still feeling the same thing that you felt at level 1, you can just be like, "Oh, I've not come anywhere." But you're actually out here experiencing the same feeling. So it's kind of like this, the same concept. And we can experience the same feeling and it be a different challenge, or it can just be a new layer or a new level of the same challenge. Like the example I gave of the lady that was like, oh, I've gone back after 8 months or 10 months. Also, for the kind of seasoned healers that have been at this journey for a while, what I found to be super interesting about the healing journey is that it can sometimes be the same wound that had us attracted to or staying in a relationship with a narcissist or not standing up for ourselves. It can be those same negative beliefs and wounds that held us back then, that when we overcome them and we're no longer in those relationships and we're in healthier relationships, those same wounds can then hold us back in other areas of our lives. And I found that really interesting in my own journey and when I work with clients, because I work with people that they've either been on this journey for quite a while and they want to maintain the level of healing that they have and really live a life that's truer to themselves, or like in the kind of life coaching wheel of life, work on one particular area, or they're very new to this and they're maybe still in the relationship, or they're leaving the narcissistic person and they're completely new to coaching and hypnotherapy and all that kind of thing. So yeah, I've noticed, like with one of my clients, when she wanted to write a book, all of these things were just coming up again. And it was like, wow, like I thought I already dealt with this. But yeah, like I said, new level, new devil. So fun. So let's just talk about this concept of the healing journey and what that is. And one way I like to think of the healing journey is that it's a combination of subtle and profound breakthroughs. So sometimes, like some of the therapies I mentioned, like the rewind technique for trauma, or the psychic cord cutting technique, or even other things that you can do in session, you will leave that session and you'll be like, wow, I feel a shift. I feel completely different. I have released that emotion. I don't believe that anymore. I see that in a completely different light. And then other times, you might just feel like a subtle difference, and it feels much less significant. However, what I want to say about that is those subtle differences build on each other. And over time, a lot of those subtle differences, whether that's working with another or by yourself with like a consistent journaling practice, for example, they will add up. And sometimes a lot of those subtle differences or progresses can result in a profound um, healing experience. Um, yeah, and like I just, I've mentioned that I work with people that have been on this journey for a while. I want to say it's really important to acknowledge that there is a maintenance part of this healing journey, which I strongly want to advocate for because of the nature of narcissistic abuse, being psychological abuse, being put down so you have negative beliefs about yourself and your abilities, and the emotional abuse, where you have all of these emotions that have likely been repressed or, redirected into addictions. And so, in healing that, if you don't stay on top of it, then there's always the possibility of reverting back to old ways, old patterns, whether it's emotional eating or shopping or just not being present with yourself. And that's why it's so important to have some kind of maintenance, whether that's, as you tail off working with someone, a monthly session, and then going into a session every 3 months or every 6 months. And even if you're not working with someone else, you're just making that time to actually check in and reflect on your life and notice to yourself, am I still living in alignment with myself? Am I still speaking up? Am I still doing my self-care? Because what I've noticed is when there are times of stress in our life, we can revert back. And so it's just staying on top of it. And then the other thing I want to mention about the healing journey is that there's an integration period where if you are going to a regular therapy, the after a while of doing that, it starts to become not just the things that you're doing in the session, but you start to gather the tools and apply them to your life, and it becomes a way of life. So it's not that you go to therapy and then you're healed and then you just go and live your life. It's like the way you live your life shifts in a really profound way. And I think that's kind of hard to describe. um But yeah, if that resonates with you, I'd love to know. Oh, I mentioned the overlap between self-development and narcissistic abuse. I also just want to mention if you are on this journey, um, and you're in this for the long term, you've been doing this a while, to have a balance between well, there's a couple of things here. Have a balance between looking for things within you that need to be healed or you think need to be fixed, and also just embracing how far you've come. And I think one of the reasons why I would potentially suggest spending longer than 1 year on this is that for many of us, we don't want to constantly every week be in therapy working on this. For some of us, we would prefer to have some breaks and have peaks and troughs of when we're going in and doing a lot of this healing work, and then we may be stepping out and kind of just living our life, and then maybe going back in for another round of therapy. So I'll definitely share how my healing journey looked and what that picture of those peaks and troughs looks like, because it is a personal journey. So for some people, they're going to be like, yeah, absolutely. Let's just get in and out and do this as quickly as possible. One session a week. For others, it's going to be like, okay, I want 12 sessions and then I'll have a break and then I'll go in for 12 more, kind of a thing. And for others, different again. Yeah, so kind of having this balance between yeah, looking for things to heal or and working on what's coming up, and also finding what's right with you and looking at the progress that you have made and taking time to enjoy your life, because that is part of healing. That's a big part of healing. I'm laughing because I think my husband's going to watch this. He's like, "Yeah, Marie, you need to enjoy life more." He's all about enjoying life. Um just another thing to be aware of, when I was researching for this video, I saw, I think it was on like a Reddit thread or something. One of the questions was, how long does it take to be fully healed from narcissistic abuse? And I was just like, whoa there. um, the thing about fully, like, I don't like this concept of fully healed because um, as long as we live in, there's going to be challenges, and some of those challenges are going to be what we bring to those challenges. We're going to bring our history with us. We're going to bring the fact that in the past we wasn't able to trust, the fact that we didn't speak up. We're going to bring some of that with us into the future. So I'm not really into this idea of fully healed, but also I wonder if you've noticed this as well. Have you ever had a period in your life where you actually feel kind of superficially confident and you feel like nothing's going to stand in my way? And I spoke about this on an episode of Coffee and Tea with Tabitha. You're just like, no, like I'm on it. No one's going to hurt me. And you've sort of got this armor and this shield. And then what happens is you get completely knocked like flat on your face. That's happened to me before. And I think it's important to have a bit of humility when it comes to our healing journey, that no matter how far we have come, it's probably best not to exclaim, I'm fully healed, everything's absolutely amazing, because life can come along and go, really? Is that what you think? I will show you how that's not true, kind of thing. So, yeah, it's just kind of, finding the balance and finding what works for you. If you've got any suggestions on that, please comment and let me know. Um, okay. I actually made some more notes on this concept of fully healed, and I guess um what I've written here is that there is a healthier way of looking at it, rather than like, it's almost like an unobtainable goal to go, okay, I'm just going to be fully healed. Life's going to be perfect. It's kind of like it's a similar concept to this fantasy we can have that the narcissist is going to come like and save us and be our rescue, like looking for a rescue. It's like, oh, if I'm fully healed, then I'm never going to be upset. I'm never going to, like, everything's going to be perfect. And that's just not life. And so I guess that's yeah, I just don't think it's realistic. Anyway, so I've written here, there's a better way or a healthier way, which is probably more politically correct. Um, so when you first have a struggle and then you get help with that, you work, you start working towards getting a solution for that for yourself. And in that process, you partner with yourself and you accept the struggle that you are having in that moment. And you also gain a sense of self worth, that you are worth healing, you are worth taking this journey for. And you are partnering with yourself, and you are on your own team. And when we do this, whether it's the first struggle that we are working on or whether it's the 20th struggle, I really think that there's something really powerful in that is actually more encompassing of what healed is than this unobtainable, fully healed goal. It's the partnership you have with yourself in order to support yourself. And when you approach each challenge you face in this way, then you've made that shift. I hope I've explained that well enough. Okay, so that's concepts of healing and setbacks, and I also made some notes here on healing in an instant. And what would that mean if we could heal in an instant? Let's just say, like, I could just click my fingers and you would be fully healed and you would be a healthy person, but you would be in your life right now. I don't think if you were to experience that, I don't think you would actually want it. And here's why. Because the relationships around you, your work life, your friendships, your family, that you've been interacting in a certain way. And healing is like an incremental process of becoming healthier yourself. So if you were to just instantly be healthy or instantly have healthy relationships around you, people would be coming at you and they would be like, okay, I want to discuss this issue with you in this like healthy way. And you'd just be like, what is this? I don't understand this healthy. Like, I only understand unhealthy. And so that's why it does really need to be incremental. And if, we want that quick fix and to just everything change, it would literally be too much and we would experience a healing crisis, which is something when I was a massage therapist and I trained in Reiki, I experienced myself when you're training and you get like 5, 6 hours of massage a day or 5 hours of Reiki healing, and then you go home and just have a massive breakdown because you're just I I'm overwhelmed, like overwhelmed with all of the repressed feelings. And there are parts of the healing journey that are like that, where it's all coming up and it's overwhelming. But yeah, to be healed in an instant would just be it would just be like the love bomb equivalent of healing crisis. Yeah. Also, I think, if that was the case with the healing journey, then um you wouldn't be picking up the things that you need to learn at each point, at each moment of your journey. And these are the gems, these are the pieces of wisdom, these are like the connections you make between your childhood and what's happening now, and the beliefs that you've learned about yourself and what you experienced, and why you have become the person that you are, and then working through that and becoming healthier. Like, all of these gems and this wisdom and these tools that you pick up, you wouldn't get that experience. And that experience is really priceless. So I was actually looking at this and I was like, if you'd have told me in 2008 when I was really struggling with no contact, like, would you want to jump ahead to 2016 when you get married to someone healthy and like you're really loving life and you've changed your career? I would have been like, yes, take me there now. Is it on a beach in Australia? Hell yes. Take me there now. However, if you'd have asked me that in 2016 or even now, actually, let's say you're asking me now, I'd be like, absolutely not. I would not want to skip any of those years because I learned so much. And it just sounds so cliche. Like, I'm annoying myself even saying this. But my point is that each step of the healing journey prepares you for the next step. And sometimes the next step isn't revealed until you've taken the step that is right in front of you. And yeah, all of these small gains add up to really big, massive gains. So no, I wouldn't want to skip ahead at all. Okay, let's go into the quality of this question and what you can ask instead. And I'm going to talk about the cons of asking this question. So, when we return to the question at hand, um, how long is it going to take me to heal from narcissistic abuse? I want to highlight that a con of asking this kind of question is that it can be a really big distraction. Like I said at the start, I asked this question for 2 or 3 months and it was just completely stalling. It was kind of like going to a swimming pool and knowing the water's going to be cold and just standing on the edge for half an hour going, well, I know I'm going to jump in eventually, but I'm just going to drag this out. And you think of all the different ways that I could possibly enter the water. And then when I finally enter the water, it being, yes, healing is going to be uncomfortable. It's going to be painful at times. Um, but when you look at the two roads, the two forks in the road, what would you prefer? Would you prefer to experience substandard relationships for the rest of your life and never feel what a healthy relationship and healthy love and support is? Or are you willing to get uncomfortable and face this head on and get to somewhere better in the future? So it's really an investment. It's an investment into yourself and it's an investment into your future. Um so yeah, absolutely it can be a big distraction. It can be a big distraction from all of the things that you could be doing that would actually get you to that, you know, destination that you want, fully healed. That fully healed destination. So I've written here, stop measuring your progress day to day, because I think at the very beginning, or if we're just asking this question, like, how long is this going to take? How long? And we look at how we feel on a Friday compared to how we felt on a Monday, or I'm still struggling with this on Friday and I was struggling with it on Monday, so therefore I've not come anywhere. I think it's a really good idea to not measure your progress so like strictly in these very short periods of time. And so I'm going to go into the quality of question you can ask, and in that I'm going to refer to what you can do instead and how you can actually measure your progress instead in a more efficient way. Okay, so I believe there's a better quality of question than how long is it going to take me to heal? And that question, or that kind of question, is how can I heal? How can I get over this? How am I going to do this? What is the next step? And when you've committed to this, you know, this fork in the road and the opportunity that will come with choosing yourself and your healing, you literally can just work on that next step. So you can define your struggle and or define where it is that you're going or you want to go, define your goal. And like we talked about the short term and the long term goals. So, what I would suggest is that once you know, I think it's very easy to know what we're struggling with now and then turning that into, okay, well, this is what I'm working on. Let's say I'm struggling with going no contact, then the goal is I'm going to learn how to go no contact, like turning that into a positive goal that you can move towards rather than something that you're trying to um, move away from, which is harder to do. And then once you have that, remind yourself of that goal regularly, whether that's daily. I wrote it down in my diary every single day. I'm working on my healing journey. I'm committed to my healing journey. I'm going to heal from narcissistic abuse, or having it weekly already written down, or monthly. But I would suggest going a lot more regular than that. And then how do you measure your progress? This is how you measure your progress. 3 months from today, you take out your diary and you write down and you make a note, um, reflect on healing journey, something like that. And then between now And then in 3 months' time, you've defined your struggle and your goal, whether that's your short term and or long term goal. You've made your reminders so that you've committed to it. And then you've asked yourself these questions. How am I going to do this? How can I heal? How can I do this? And ask yourself those questions over and over again. And you will find yourself reaching out to get the answers to these questions rather than dwelling on what the issue is that you're trying to move away from. And that will automatically push and propel you forwards in your healing. And I think another big part of this is actually making an investment in a therapist and someone that you're working with in order to do this. However, I know that's not possible for everyone. I'm going to make a separate video on how I would heal if I didn't have the money to actually invest in it. So please subscribe and watch out for that video if you're interested in that. And I would change my perspective on this and see it as a long-term investment, see it as a journey. And then in 3 months from that time, when you get that notification, if it's in Google Calendar or if it's in your diary, that's when you can reflect on how far you've come. And for me, I didn't actually need to write down my struggle because I feel like when we're struggling with something so intensely, we can remember, we can think back to, okay, in January I was really struggling with this. But if that's something you think you might forget, then you can write down what it is you're struggling with right now as well. And then in 3 months' time, when you get that reminder, then review. Am I still struggling with that problem? How much progress have I made towards this short and long term goal that I set for myself? And I would suggest doing this for one entire year in order to heal from narcissistic abuse. And I would then follow up with that and suggest that for the second year, you continue to do this. And I would also suggest that when you do these reviews, whether or not you have made progress, you will find the review very, very beneficial. And here's why. Let's say you haven't made progress at all. Then, uh-oh, sorry, just getting a notification. Let's say you haven't made progress at all. Then use the emotion that evokes in you, that annoyance and that frustration, maybe that's a frustration you have with yourself, as fuel, and decide, no, I'm not going to let the next 3 months pass me by and be in this same position. And you recommit, and that reflection time that shows you that there's more work to do. So I would suggest doing this for 1 year, carry on, do it for the second year, maybe even do it for a third year. You will be amazed at the difference that this makes in your life. Closing remarks. I don't want you to let what I've said hold you back and be like, this is an overwhelming journey. It's just going to take too long. Um, Also, don't go this alone. Seek support, whether that's in Facebook groups, codependency recovery groups. Ask questions. Ask other people questions that are going to move you forwards. And if you can, seek therapy, seek to work with someone. I'm also going to share my journey in more detail. So stay tuned for that and subscribe and hit the bell if you want to hear about how I managed to make massive progress and what it was that I was doing at those times when I did kind of really leap forward in healing. And I would also consider with this, if it is overwhelming, I would consider, how long have you actually been struggling with this? Because for many of us, it's years or decades. And so to sort of wait, and and not just how long have you been struggling, but how long did you go to get to that point where you were struggling? Like, what happened? What led up to the narcissistic abuse? And when you think of that, and then you consider, okay, one year of consistently working with a therapist, or perhaps 2 or 3 years, if I'm not going to be having as much regular sessions, then it's actually, um, I mean, make your own mind up there, but it's, there is real progress to be had there. Awesome. Um, this has gone on really quite long, and I just want to finish here with some closing comments. So, set your sights on where you are going. Really think about the quality of the questions that you're asking yourself. Make sure you reflect and refine on your progress, and use your progress either to give yourself a pat on the back, like, wow, I've come this far, and to encourage you, or use that lack of how far you've come to really fuel the next part of your healing journey. Make this a long term commitment for 1 year and then continue it. And really celebrate when you do make progress. Check out my Instagram account on Instagram. Check that out, because I have made some posts on the healing journey and how long it takes. And one of them is called Slowgress and the Art of Slow Progress. And also, to help you on your healing journey, I do have 2 free resources, which I think will be really useful here. One is a free workbook, Heal from Narcissistic Abuse and Become a Self-Empowered Healer. The exercises in there are something you can do every day to heal, and they are free. And secondly, I have a free checklist which will show the steps to take to heal from narcissistic abuse. So you have a clear roadmap of what you need to do. Awesome. That's it for now. I'm going to end this video because my computer's telling me that it's going to run out of battery. But yeah, I hope that you've enjoyed this. I hope it's been insightful, and I wish you so many positivities for you in your healing journey. Take care.